I was a lousy wife to my husband, and I'm so sorry. I, 28 female, married the man of my dreams, 27 male, 5 years ago. We met in college, were fast friends, lovers, and finally engaged. This all happened over a span of 2 years. When we finally married, I was the happiest person on earth. Jay is intelligent, funny, and a fantastic lover. We have one child, 4F, whom we dote on. He has been my everything since we started dating. I want to make it clear here that Jay never did anything wrong. He did not deserve this. My husband Jay works in the software industry as a finance partner for a major project that his company is developing. Jay's been with the company since we finished college, and he's been working his way up the chain, consistently proving himself. I work for a local dental group doing office work and hope to return to school soon, but my current situation may interfere with my goals. Jay makes significantly more money than I do, but I make a good living and I'm proud of my accomplishments. Jay has always been there for me, encouraging me to return to school and follow my career dreams. Here's where I screwed up. Just thinking about this makes my heart ache. About 3 months ago, I returned to my hometown and met with some old school friends for dinner at a local brewery. While at dinner, my best friend from high school informed me that my ex-boyfriend from high school was newly divorced and had been asking about me. I laughed and told her that this ship had sailed and I was as happy as anyone had the right to be. My problem was that my ex-boyfriend had dumped me for the woman he ended up marrying, and it always stung when I thought about it. Anyway, my friend posted pictures of us at dinner on social media and he showed up while we ate. He came over to the table and started chatting up everyone. At first, I was distant because I did not want anything to do with him. People at the table invited him to sit, and he became part of the conversation. He worked his way around the table, talking to people until he got to me. When he asked me how I was doing, I failed my husband. I allowed him to engage me in conversation, and ultimately he got up and sat next to me. We ended up chatting most of the night, and my BFF gave me a look warning me to not get too caught up with Ron. I left around the same time as the others, and Ron walked me out to my rental car. Before I knew what I was doing, I responded to him when he leaned in for a kiss. His hands were all over me, then found myself kissing him back. We drove back to the hotel, we started kissing again. I couldn't stop myself and allowed him to lift my skirt to use his mouth on me. His hands touched me everywhere and my mind froze as I realized what was happening. I pushed him away hard and told him to stop. He tried to convince me to continue, but I insisted he leave. He smiled and wrote his number on the hotel notepad and left. I tore it up and threw it in the trash. I cried for most of the night, not being able to sleep. I let another man touch me in a way only my husband had the right to. We may not have had intercourse, but I know what I did was just as wrong. I drove home early the following day after a few hours of sleep and a hot shower. Jay was home when I arrived, and he met me at the door with a kiss. There was no way I could hide this from him. He immediately knew something was wrong. I had hours to think about what had happened and why during the drive home. There's no excuse for my behavior. I know I was stupid and weak. I should have never allowed Ron to get near or engage me in conversation. There was too much baggage, and I wasn't mature enough to process it. Jay held me at arm's length and asked me what happened. I couldn't help it. I just cried and sobbed through what had happened. His face became a cold mask of what he usually was. I pulled away from him and ran upstairs, bawling my eyes out. I couldn't stand his eyes on me. I wasn't worthy of him, and now he knew it. Our daughter was at his parents' house because Jay wanted to surprise me by going out for dinner and a movie. I wound up sobbing uncontrollably on the bed for what seemed like forever. When I was finally able to stop crying, Jay was sitting on the bed next to me. I don't want to go through the gory details, but we spoke about everything that had happened, with Jay asking a lot of questions. I didn't have many real answers on why, other than this was a single moment's lapse in judgment. I've never contacted Ron in the past, and will never interact with him again. I told Jay I hated myself for what had happened, and would stay with my parents, so he didn't have to look at me. I just asked him if I could see our daughter before leaving. Jay agreed to let me stay and see our daughter. I repacked my bag with clean clothes and threw everything I had taken on my trip into the trash. When Jay's mom brought our daughter home, I hugged her. I held her and we chatted for almost an hour before I left the house. I then told her mommy needed to go away on another trip and wouldn't be back for a while. She was sad and told me to hurry home. This made me cry again, so I took my bag and left. Jay was holding our daughter at the door, watching me leave. He never said a word, but his eyes said everything. Jay called me at my parents' house a few days later so my daughter could talk to me. Even in my shame, Jay was always looking out for our family. Jay didn't make me beg him for anything. He was open and fair and didn't yell at me. I could still tell that he was angry, but he was something I wasn't. He was mature enough to handle life where I failed. About 2 weeks passed with daily calls between myself and our daughter before I got a call from Jay, where he asked me to come home. The way he said it caught me off guard since his voice didn't have any anger, just what seemed like a sadness that tore at my soul. I told him I would be back as soon as he allowed. He said that the decision was up to me and reminded me our daughter needed a mother. He didn't want me to be away from our daughter any longer. He told me she cried every day because I wasn't home. He said it was time I stopped feeling sorry for myself and start thinking of our family. Jay again met me at the door with our daughter. I held her until she started squirming to be let down. Then she ran off to her room to play, leaving me standing in the living room with Jay. I couldn't even bring myself to look at him. I just stared at the floor, waiting. Jay again proved he was more mature than I will ever be, telling me to relax. He took my bag and brought it up to our room. I was surprised that he brought my bag back to the master bedroom, but informed me he would sleep in the guest room. I went down to the kitchen and started making dinner. We sat at the table like a typical family and ate for the first time in over 3 weeks. Jay did the dishes like he always did. I put on the TV for our daughter, leaving more awkward time for Jay and me in the kitchen. Eventually, Jay said that we needed to make some decisions. Those words were the ones I was dreading more than anything. I got emotional again, and Jay sat quietly until I could continue. All I could say was, "Please," over and over until Jay asked me what he should do. When I looked up at him, he said, "What would I do if our roles were reversed?" I just sat there looking at him. I had already thought about this during my time with my parents, and honestly, I knew how I would feel, but I couldn't bring myself to say it. I loved Jay more than anything in my life. Jay refused to yell at me when I needed him to scream at me. His sad eyes haunt me. Yeah, I could see the anger, but that was nothing compared to the hurt in his eyes. I started crying again and admitted that he should divorce me for cheating on him. He said that was the same conclusion he had come to, but wanted to hear what I would do. Then he asked me if I'd ever cheated on him before now. I vehemently objected to that, as I had never done that before. I swore to this on my parents' lives and my eternal soul. I found myself kneeling with my head in his lap, crying again. I just needed him to believe me when he had no reason to. After a few minutes, he said, "Here's what we are going to do." Then told me that he would file for divorce, and I would sign it without argument. Jay outlined that the divorce decree would give him everything he wanted, including custody and the house, and I would get no alimony. Jay told me he would only trust me if I trusted him. Since we live in California, divorce would favor me regardless of the situation. Jay said this was the only way we would keep our family and proved that I wanted to make this work. If I agreed to this, he would allow me to live in the house with him and our daughter, and we would be a family, but this marriage was destroyed. The only way to save my family would be to give up everything. I agreed to this without thinking twice, allowing me to be with Jay and our daughter. Our uncontested divorce is going through the system. Jay still sleeps in the guest room, but things are otherwise normal. We don't have intimate physical contact, other than what you would see in regular public displays of affection. We have decided that our relationship issues are personal, and we'd not open them up to family or friends. I've offered to confess what I did to our parents, because I know they sense there is something going on with us. As much as we'd like to keep it private, Jay deserves the support of our families. I feel like I'm lying to our parents by not telling them, but I can see the shame in Jay's eyes. We both still wear our rings, at least for now. Jay's sadness is less apparent now, but I still see it occasionally. My birthday was last week, and Jay hugged and kissed me, wishing me a happy birthday. This is the closest we've been since the day I confessed. He's backed off for a bit, but I'm hoping that by his birthday, we'll be on better grounds. I don't plan to give up on our relationship, and as Jay said, our current marriage is destroyed, but that doesn't mean our relationship is destroyed. At least, that's how I'm looking at it. I plan to do everything I can to regain his trust and love. I want to save my family, and I want to keep my relationship with my husband. I love him and my daughter more than life itself. I know that most people reading this are going to tear into me for what I did and accuse me of being some horrible person. And maybe you're right, but I hope not. Your feedback is welcome, but I challenge you to give me the benefit of the doubt and your advice on how to help repair the trust. The channel creator told me this would be going on YouTube if I wanted to see the response. If you have honest advice, please leave it here in the comments. I'll be reading them all.
I only post unique new content. Please like and subscribe.